Alex, let's come back onto the British Medical Journal then, and understanding and neutralising. They want to neutralise what they describe as COVID-19 misinformation and disinformation.
Well, this paper by UC Wang et al. Was carried as opinion on the 22nd of November by the British Medical Journal. It's not the first recent appearance of a call for totalitarianism and the end of scientific inquiry in the BMJ. I won't read the text on screen given how many slides we have today, but people will see from the author affiliations that all but one, other than Wang herself, who is in Italy, all but one of the other authors are British-based. The remaining one being an American-based PhD candidate, US-based professor of social and political science, rather. I've got that wrong, but anyway, no, it's a research fellow is the US-based. All the others are in the British NHS. So this is largely British medics pleading for censorship. So we talk about the initial lockdown and all measures subsequently having been opposed by some people, and these are ghastly American-like populists. They go on to talk about infodemics, parroting what Mr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the leader of the World Health Organization, talks about. It's a key part of pandemic management, and they call for legal measures in a bit I haven't shown on screen. And finally, they talk about how to deal with science denialism. And they talk, just as we were doing in an earlier segment, noticing this, that halfway down that final extract, you see that children could have been protected. I think they're talking about masks here without naming them, but they've been unnecessarily exposed to a virus through this lack of hard action by government. There's been some comeback. And again, I won't read these, but you can see just from a casual glance at the, you can get this by going to the page in question and going to replies, of which there are 5 at the moment. You can see that the UK Medical Freedom Alliance finds itself maligned and says that they have been named without being given a right to reply. This approach borders on the defamatory, is manifestly unscientific and falls short of the BMJ's editorial standards. On the left, you see that the HART Group, HART, well known to most of our viewers now, has said that they have really been traduced as well. Finally, among the 5 replies, I highlight this one by Dr Ros Jones, who says that Dr Wang is calling for censorship and an end to scientific discourse, and she's not sure whether Dr Wang has read any of the publications of those whom she attacks, which is probably quite near the bone. So one more from me. Oh, so beg your pardon, we've changed the order, so I shouldn't have done that.
That's it. That is from you. So this is the Birmingham City Council tender notice, Alex, and I just tidied this up a little bit. So we've got a description here. The council wishes to appoint one supplier for the provision of national and international genealogy services for the purpose of locating next of kin in order that the council can comply with its statutory obligations under the Act. You can tell us more about that in a second. A single supplier model has been chosen, and what they're basically saying is the selected supplier will use the lead information to locate a relative to undertake necessary funeral arrangements for the deceased. So what are they saying here? That when somebody passes away, if they don't have immediate contact details for their next of kin, they're going to employ at goodness knows how much money, because I noticed on this tender document there's no value applied to it. They're going to employ an organisation to search through genealogical records to track down the next of kin in order to slap a bill on them.
Yes, and it could go as far as DNA mass sampling here, because Birmingham City Council, given that London is 33 boroughs, Birmingham City Council is the largest municipality in the United Kingdom, and it's very roughly comparable in population terms to Amsterdam, the largest Dutch municipality. The Dutch press have covered over the years that Amsterdam, and therefore presumably Birmingham too, is facing hundreds and hundreds of anonymous funerals a year of people who died in their apartments alone or whatever. But the new angle here is those who've been euthanized or pathwayed. So if we put the slide back on screen, we can see that the viewer who sent this through to me made the cynical gloss on this. After we've dispatched you, we'll send the bill to your family. And you're quite right to notice the open-ended financial or budgeting here, Mike. They must be thinking it can recoup more than it's an outlay. So we'll send the bill to your family, who might be some cousin in Pakistan, or somebody in Britain who can't speak English. We'll send a bill to your family, and we're not pretending that we are not collecting data. No, indeed they're not, because they're talking about data right here. So without a universal population register, which is still beyond the pale in Anglo-Saxon countries, this is a backdoor route to achieving the same, which is pinning the costs of sometimes non-voluntary hospital deaths on the next of kin, whether they're in Britain or not.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Alex. Now let's just quickly move on to digital currencies. And I just wanted to highlight this, although it's probably too late to do anything about it now, because this debate will be happening within the next hour or two, I would have thought. But this is from Toby Young's Free Speech Union. And he's saying, as you may recall, Sally Ann Hart, MP, tabled an amendment to the Financial Services and Markets Bill a couple of months ago, which would have made it illegal for payment processors like PayPal to withhold or withdraw service from customers on the basis of their lawful political beliefs. After a conversation with the Bill Minister, she withdrew that amendment, having been assured that the government recognised this was a problem, particularly as we move towards a cashless society, and would consider whether the best way of solving it was via legislation or regulation. Well, the bill is coming back to the House on Wednesday, that's today, and there's been no communication from the government about the issue, so Sally Ann is retabling her amendment. If we're to push the government to act on this, it's very important that as many MPs as possible speak in favour of Sally Ann's amendment, and that's new clause 27 during the debate today. Now, it's unfortunate that we only saw this today, but nonetheless, that is happening this afternoon. I still think it's worthwhile making sure that your MP, all our MPs, understand that this is important. But moving on to the issue of central bank digital currencies, and one of the countries which is well ahead of everyone else is Nigeria. And a couple of days ago, yesterday, the Nigerian central bank pushed out this release. And what's it saying? That now the maximum cash withdrawal per week via automated teller machines shall be 100,000 naira, subject to a maximum of 20,000 naira cash withdrawal per day. So that's 100,000 naira per week. So basically, what does this work out at? So now limited to $45 per day and $225 per week from ATMs. Individuals and businesses will also be restricted to taking out $225 and $1,125 respectively at banks. So that's if you go to the actual bank counter. That's the maximum you'll be allowed to take, with individuals being given a 5% fee and businesses a 10% fee for any amounts above those limits. So if you want to take your own money out of your bank account, you've got to pay 10% to the bank. The maximum cash withdrawal via point of sale terminals, so in a supermarket or whatever, is capped at $45 per day. Now, why is this happening? Well, let's have a look. Here's Haruna Mustafa, from the Nigerian Central Bank, saying customers should be encouraged to use alternative channels, brackets, internet banking, mobile banking apps, USSD, cards, e-Naira, etc., to conduct their business transactions. And it's e-Naira that is the most important, because this is what it is. It is, of course, a central bank digital currency. This is what they say about it. With 81 countries and more on the race to develop their own central bank digital currencies, let it be very clear that we are not just another CBDC. We are a people-oriented digital currency leveraging technology to connect individuals and businesses for easy trading and financial inclusion. We push the boundaries, bridge the gaps, and tell actual humane stories. We are the foremost audience-centric digital currency, brandishing a face. What do you say about that?
Well, I'm laughing, Mike, but I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's incredibly serious, but it's got to. What are a lot of people saying these days? Clown world. This is part of clown world.
Well, look, I'm just going to make the point that only 53% of the Nigerian population actually has access to electricity. That's 2020 is the most recent statistics on that. So, they've clearly got the priorities right. Yes. Okay. Let's move on. Alex, purchasing gold.
Yes, a viewer has written, and I won't read it all out for lack of time. We have so much today, but I know that some of our viewers like buying gold and silver bullion by post from various sellers. Perfectly lawful, and if you get it right and look carefully at the regulations, also not taxable, as it is the same in most countries, especially if you buy vintage coins. But anyway, MasterCard, being one of the big three credit card companies in the world, has decided to block the purchase within Britain. There's no foreign angle here other than MasterCard being in St. Louis, Missouri, but it's a British viewer buying bullion from within Britain for delivery to Britain using sterling. But the MasterCard credit card blocks the transaction, and MasterCard reviews it and says that a couple of weeks ago, transactions of this kind are called security threats. So the viewer concludes, are the Bank for International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, central bankers and the World Economic Forum now shutting the stable door before the horse has bolted, keeping us within the system, that is, so that we don't have access to alternatives to get round their planned DIs, digital somethings, central bank digital currencies and social credit systems. And of course, social credit is the other half of this motor, because the infrastructure will be CBDCs, but the decisions on whether you don't get your humane stories at the point of sale in Lagos or London, that will be, of course, social credit derived by a different set of programmers, or AI. But Der Spiegel has got from its economy imprint a similar announcement that the Bundestag has at federal level in Germany decided, and this is in one of the most cash-keen countries in Europe, Germany, for good reasons historically, Germans and foreigners living in Germany will no longer be able, by law, to use cash or cryptocurrencies to buy real estate. And look at the red rubric at the top there, Maßnahme gegen Oligarchen. So this is being carried by Der Spiegel, well on side with the globalist press, of course, as an anti-oligarch measure.
Okay, yes, of course it is. Right, let's move on then very quickly to energy. And, well, good news, apparently, because the UK and the United States have entered an energy partnership. I'm sure most people have heard about this by now. The initiative will be steered by a new UK-US joint action group. Lots of new groups being set up, led by senior officials from the UK government and the White House, and they're going to drive work to reduce global dependence on Russian energy exports, stabilize energy markets, and step up collaboration on energy efficiency, nuclear and renewables. But the main point is that it's going to guarantee supply into the UK of huge quantities of liquefied natural gas from the United States, something along the lines of at least 9 to 10 billion cubic meters of LNG over the next year to UK terminals. And of course, this is all fracked gas from the United States. Together, the UK and US will ensure the global price of energy and security of our national supply, says Rishi Sunak, that it can never be again manipulated by the whims of a failing regime. This partnership will bring down prices for British consumers and help end Europe's dependence on Russian energy once and for all. Do you think it'll bring down prices?
Not at all, Mike.
No.
Not at all.
No. So this is what the Institute for Economic Affairs had to say. The UK will pay a premium on imported US fracked gas while sitting on 50 to 100 years of our own reserves. Well, of course, it's being used by some in the country to demand that we open up the fracking industry in this country. But certainly there will be a premium on US fracked gas. So that takes us to Ukraine, perhaps?